Hello! Welcome to this video on how to use Booklog's built-in campaign management function to communicate with your customers. With this function, you can send customers announcements about store events and promotions, and let them know about new items you have that might interest them based on their previous purchases.
Booklog's campaign management function lets you send personalized emails to your customers based on templates that you create. These emails can communicate anything you would like. You can let customers know about upcoming sales you're having, or about events like author signings that might interest them. You can attach files to these emails, and some customers send coupons or event art in their campaigns. Campaign management also lets you choose which customers you send emails to. If, for instance, you want to announce a store-wide seasonal sale, you can email your entire customer base to announce it. But if you want to select which customers should hear about a new John Grisham title you plan to sell, then campaign management lets you select just the customers who've purchased his books in the past. If you want to send a promotion that's only available to customers who are in one of your frequent buyer clubs, campaign management lets you do that too. You can even build email groups of customers who have a birthday coming up. Campaign management uses templates to create the text of each email you send. When you create a template for campaign management to use, you select which parts of the email will be personalized for each customer who receives it. For instance, you can set the template to include each customer's name so that it's addressed just to them. These templates are reusable too. If you would like to send the same email every month or every year to a variety of customers, you can create a template for that email, and then build a new campaign from that template anytime you need to.
Before you start to use campaign management, there are a few things you'll need to have in place for the module to work. You'll need to take your customers' names for each sale. When you take the customer's name, be sure to take their email address as well. If you're not sure how to enter a customer for each sale or how to add their email address to their customer record, here's how.
When you're in the cash register, click the last name blank and type in a customer's name. If they've never been to your store before, Booklog will tell you that it can't find them. In that case, you'll need to click the New button and add them in. When you add a customer to the system, there are places to record their email address, home phone number, a discount you'll allow them to use on each sale, a field for their birthday, and even a setting to show they've opted out of receiving emails from you. Once you've finished entering a customer's information, click Save and double-click on their entry in the customer pick list. If you're already taking customers at your store, but you haven't been taking their email address, you can enter in the register the next time they come in. As soon as you enter it in the email blank, Booklog will remember it and use this email if you decide to include them in a campaign later on.
Taking customer email addresses ensures Booklog can reach that customer through an email campaign. If Booklog doesn't have the customer's email address, then it can't email the customer when you send your campaigns. But you also need an email address for your store. Booklog will need to use an email account to send its campaigns, and to do that, your store will need an email address. Any campaign you send from Booklog will look like it's coming from this address. Once you have an email address for your store, you'll need to enter some information about that email address into Booklog.
To find what information Booklog needs about your address, and to enter it in, go to the Maintenance menu and click Store. Then click the SMTP tab. SMTP stands for Simple Mail Transfer Protocol and refers to the process that email servers use to send emails to each other. To make sure that your email server can send your email campaigns out in a way that other emails receive them, you'll need to fill in the blanks you see here. In most cases, a Google search will point you toward what to enter here. For instance, if you're using a Gmail address for your store, just Google Gmail's SMTP settings, and there they are. If you're working with a third-party IT provider who set up an email account for your store, ask them to provide the information you need. You can choose to have a reply to address that's different from the one you send the emails from. Just remember that if you change the address here for a single email campaign, it will change the address for future campaigns as well, unless you change it back. You can create a customized signature for these emails too. There's a test button you can use to be sure that you configured your SMTP settings correctly. But don't use it just yet. There's one more step you have to complete before you send a test.
Booklog needs your SMTP information to send emails to customers, but it also needs a few things configured on your Booklog computer, or computers, before you can start sending campaigns. On each computer where you plan to send emails, you'll need to register some DLL files that Booklog uses to do its emailing. If that sounds a little technical, don't worry. All you'll need to do is double-click on a file that came with your Booklog software.
On each computer you would like to be able to email from, go to the search blank at the bottom of your desktop screen and type the word "this." That brings up "this PC." Click Open, and then double-click on your C drive. Once you're in the C drive, find the BLWin32 folder, which is Booklog's home directory. Double-click on BLWin32 and scroll down until you see the file called soc_rsa_com. Right-click on soc_rsa_com and choose Run as Administrator. You'll get notices that the DLL files you needed to register have been successfully registered. Once those DLLs are registered, you can run the test from Booklog's SMTP tab in the store window.
After you've finished that one-time setup, you're ready to start sending email campaigns. But what kind should you send, and how? Each email campaign has its own steps to follow. The first will be to set up a template for the campaign you want to create. As an example, let's say we're creating an email to let customers know that we're hosting a reading by Charles Wright. We would first need to set up a template that includes the information we want everyone who gets the email to know about the reading.
To build that template, we would need to go to the Sales menu, click Marketing, then Campaign Management and Campaign Templates. We'll use the New button to add a new campaign template and choose Direct Market Promotion as our campaign type. We'll type the body of our email into the window on the left. The email should include everything we want to say about this reading. Information about the author, what items we're planning to sell, the date and time of the event, and anything else we think is interesting to the customer. Now, let's look at the window on the right, the one labeled Available Fields. These are variables that we can use to personalize the email. When we drag these into the body of our text, they'll show Booklog where to update our email with information specific to the customer who is receiving it. For instance, if we click on contact_fname and drag it over to the left, Booklog would replace the bracketed text there with the customer's first name when it sends them this email. Other variables we might find useful in future campaigns are CU_birthday, which would show a customer's birthday, or CU_CURR_balance, which would show how much is outstanding on a customer's account, or this_date, which would show the date we send the email. Now we need to give the template a name. If this is one we might use for other readings, we should call it something generic like Author Reading Campaign, and change it to include a different author's name and event schedule each time we send it. If this campaign template is too specific to reuse, then we might just name it after the event we're using it for. We'll click Save when we're done.
Once we have a workable template, we're ready to send the campaign. But who will we send it to? Do we want to limit the email to people who have purchased Charles Wright's books in the past? Since Charles Wright is a poet, do we want to expand the campaign to include anyone who bought something from our poetry section? Since Charles Wright is a former U.S. Poet Laureate, do we want all of our customers to know we're hosting him? Or since we've been entering customers' names for a very long time, do we only want to include customers who have been in recently? Campaign management lets us decide who will get this email using all those factors and many more besides. Once we make that decision, we'll be able to send our emails.
To send our campaign, we need to go to Sales, then Marketing, then Campaign Management, then Campaigns. We'll click New to start building this new campaign. We need to give the campaign a name. We'll make the name specific to our event so that we can find it later on if we need it. We need to choose Direct Market Promotion as our campaign type, just as we did when we were creating our template. Now we need to choose the template we want to use for this campaign. We should take a look at the tabs that popped up in the window once we chose our campaign type. If we clicked the Build tab right now, Booklog would build a list of email recipients that included all of our customers, or at least the ones we have email addresses for and who haven't opted out of our emails. But the other tabs are just as important. With the settings on these tabs, we can narrow down the list of recipients to be customers we think will be most interested in the event. On the Segment tab, we can select a few customer practices that we would like to use when finding our target group. Should we look for customers who have a certain birthday, or customers who live in a certain area? Maybe not for this campaign. Should we look for customers who have purchased something from us recently? This makes sense. If we don't make this selection, we run the risk of emailing customers who don't live in our area anymore, or who no longer shop with us for whatever reason. On the other hand, we might also bring back some customers who haven't shopped with us in a while. Do we want to target customers who have had an average purchase amount over a certain number of days? Or customers who've been coming in a lot recently? Or whose on-account balance is over a certain amount? Those settings would be useful for other campaigns, but probably not for this one. We should make a decision about the setting at the bottom of this window, asking us how we want to join our tab selections. This is an important setting, but to really understand it, we need to look at the other tabs first.
The ISBN tab lets us narrow our list of recipients to customers who bought specific items in our store. It makes sense that we would want to include all of Charles Wright's books here. But a quicker way might be to go to the Authors tab and just put his name here. We could also use the F4 key here to search for a Charles Wright book and double-click on it. That would add his name here. But then again, maybe we want to expand our list a little. If we click the Categories tab, we can choose Poetry here, and then we would catch everybody who ever bought a poetry book from us. Then again, maybe that's too narrow. If we click the Departments tab, we can choose everyone who ever bought a book from us. Wouldn't it be nice if we could combine these tabs somehow? Actually, we can. Let's go back to the Segment tab and look at that Join setting again. We've got two choices here. If we click And, then Booklog will build a list for us of everyone who meets the requirements we set up in this tab, and all the settings we have in the other tabs. So everyone who's shopped with us in the last year and bought a book by Charles Wright will be included in the list. That means our list is more exclusive than it could be. Now we're only going to be emailing someone who bought a Charles Wright book from us and has shopped with us in the last year. On the other hand, we could use Or. Or is more inclusive than And. Now, anyone who has shopped with us in the last year or ever bought a Charles Wright book from us, no matter when they bought it, is on this list. In fact, maybe we want to make it even more inclusive by adding members of our frequent buyer clubs to the list by clicking the Clubs tab and making selections there.
We've done all the hard work now. What's left is to actually send the emails. So with all of our selections made, let's click the Build tab. We can see immediately everyone who will get this email and what it will look like. We can click through the emails and see each individual email. We can even make changes to specific customers' emails before they go out. All that's left is to actually send them, and we'll click the Email Drop button to make that happen. But before we do, let's talk about the other buttons here. The Letter Drop button allows us to print out paper copies of these emails in case we want to send them as letters instead. We can even print out mailing labels to go with each letter, as long as we have our customers' physical addresses entered into their records. We can also send these emails as texts if we have each customer's cell phone number and their cell phone carrier specified in their records. We can also export this list of customers if we want to import them into another program like MailChimp or MailerLite. Booklog doesn't provide statistics about how many customers opened the email or how many clicked through on any links you may have provided, but a good email distribution service should be able to provide that information. If you would like to use Booklog to provide your email distributor with targeted emailing lists, the Export List button lets you do so. Now, let's click the Email Drop button to get these emails on their way. We can specify a subject line for the email here. When we click OK, Booklog will send this number of personalized emails through our store email account. If your email server has a limit on the number of emails you can send at one time, you can break these down into batches right here. Booklog will record the date of your email drop and how many pieces you sent.
Thanks for joining us. We hope you found this helpful. If you did, and you would like to learn more about how to use some of Booklog's other functions, take a look at our YouTube channel. We have lots of free videos posted that you might find useful. Thanks again.